Welcome back Year 12s to another video. It's going to be a shorter one this video. So quick recap of our last videos. We looked at the cell-mediated immune response, which is looking at cytotoxic T cells, and of course any of the APCs that we know about. So dendritic cells or macrophages coming together with that helper T cell. And then they go through that process. Okay, and that process then includes clonal expansion, where it replicates itself, and then, of course, making more cytotoxic T cells so that they can destroy the pathogen. The pathogen's generally going to be a virus in this case. The humoral immune response we looked at as well, which works simultaneously at the same time as the other immune response. Okay, so keep that in mind. So cell-mediated and humoral work together. B lymphocytes in this case are the APC, and they display the antigens of course, the pathogen. In this case, can be any types of pathogens. And of course, then you get the T helper cell coming together. The corresponding T helper cell finding the matching MHC1 marker, then allows the B cells to go through that clonal expansion, all right, which replicates themselves, and create memory cells. Okay. Then those B cells that have been replicated that aren't memory cells are called plasma cells, and they make the antibodies which destroy the pathogen. All right, we also looked at the lymphatic tissue. Okay, so lymph and lymph nodes, as well as the thymus and the bone marrow. Okay, we also looked at strategies for acquiring immunity. So active immunity, which is where your own immune response occurs. Your own body figures out the pathogen and it creates a memory, okay, or immunity. Passive immunity, protection provided by a transfer of antibodies from another organism. So these are generally temporary. And they don't help to make memory cells. Okay, so think of like an anti-venom when you get bitten by a snake. All right, immunotherapy is this video, and it's going to be a short one, as I said, probably another minute or two from here. So what is immunotherapy? So it's any treatment that activates or suppresses the immune system. And this is important here, so it'll either increase your immune system, or it might decrease your immune system response. All right, so you might be thinking, why would you want to suppress or decrease your own immune system? You know, if you have something like an autoimmune disease where your immune system is attacking your body tissue and cells, that's where you want to suppress your immune system. Okay, where would you want to activate it? For any other pathogen or something like cancer, which we're going to talk about in a minute. Okay. So just going on cancer here. So there is a few different types that you need to be aware of. Essentially, they are, uncontrolled cell division. That's what cancer really is. All right, and it's really tumors of that uncontrolled cell division. We call those neoplasms. All right, so they can be classed as 3 different things, and this is more Year 11 content, so be aware of that. They're classed as 2 different things. Benign, so they form a mass but do not develop into cancer. So that's just your regular tumors. All right, or malignant. So they form masses that invade other tissues and develop into cancer. And they invade other tissues via metastasizing, which is breaking off and then traveling through blood vessels to another part of the body. All right, what are the traditional ways to treat cancer? They include chemotherapy, all right, which drugs administered that are cytotoxic and rapidly multiplying cells. Again, a reason why people go bald when they get chemo, because rapidly multiplying cells is stuff like your hair. Okay. Radiation therapy, directed beams that destroy DNA in all cells, which then will hopefully stop that mitosis occurring, especially the uncontrolled mitosis. And then surgery, which is a physical removal of the tumor. Okay, but obviously more intrusive and invasive. It doesn't always work either. What's your immune response to cancer? Normally, cancer cells might get picked up if they're at a really early point or they're part of a tumor. But sometimes they don't get picked up. All right, so they can mask their MHC1 markers. Even though they're presenting foreign proteins, your cytotoxic T cells and other APCs just don't see it properly, or they ignore it, or whatever it is, for multiple different reasons. They can hide their MHC1 markers. They can immunosuppress with cytokines. There's lots of things that cancer cells can do. Okay, and that's why there's such an issue in humans. All right, so there's two types of immunotherapy we need to be aware of: non-specific, which stimulate your immune system in general, so the second line of defense. The example here is the injection of cytokines, or specific, so act on cancer cells directly by stimulating the adaptive immune response. So things like monoclonal antibodies. All right, there's also cancer vaccines too, which stimulate the immune response. Also, some vaccines contain proteins that are present on the antigen of the cancer cells too. All right, so it can essentially do that in the lab, and once harvested from the cancer cells, they can be put into a vaccine. Alrighty, thanks for watching. See you later.